Sucheta, thank you for being here this morning. And we wanted to have a little international element on the panel. Sucheta is originally from India. She has lived now in the United States for, I believe, 20 years. She's traveled to over 67 countries. She has her own nonprofit company, which she'll tell you a little bit about. And a lot of her trips are organized with women in mind. So that makes up our expert panel up here. And now we're going to hear from Sucheta, who started her own company, and she's going to tell us a little bit about Go Eat Give, which I'm dying to hear about myself. And being from India, obviously she has a lot of knowledge on travel throughout all the 67 countries she's been through. But she's not going to put you through that this morning. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Sucheta.
Thanks, April. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I hope you're enjoying this beautiful day in New York. I just got here last night. And I've started traveling about 10, 15 years ago. My husband, who's in the audience, was a consultant at the time. And when I did make a trip for our vacation, he would call at the last minute and say, "Baby, I have to work." So that was my main reason to start traveling solo. And even now, research shows that over 24% people are traveling by themselves, even if they're married, even if they have a boyfriend or a spouse or a family, but they actually prefer to take some trips by themselves to do something that they like to do and not just always be looking after their children and their families and taking care of their affairs. So I started Go Eat Give as a nonprofit organization because there were a lot of other women like me, and even men, who wanted to travel, but they didn't really know where to start in terms of organizing their trip, where they can actually have a unique experience, not just stay in the hotel and go out to a restaurant from the tour guide and get on the tour bus and do a hop on, hop off, but they actually want to have a local experience. And unless you know people in those countries, it's very difficult to find that. And if you're traveling by yourself, it's very difficult to even organize every part of your day, which train you're going to get on, which restaurant you're going to go to. So with Go Eat Give, we do all the planning for you. And I was doing my own planning. My first trip was a volunteer vacation to Morocco, which April mentioned is a great destination. So that's the first place I wanted to go by myself too. And I just put it on Facebook. I'm going by myself to Morocco for 3 weeks. I'm going to be doing volunteer work there. But if there are other women like me who want to go along, please join me. And there were 5 other women who signed up who I did not know. They were friends of friends or just found out about it. And we all traveled together. And we are friends still today. It's been over 10 years. So in that case, we met up with other people who were just like us, who came from all over the world, and they wanted to travel alone, but they also wanted to do something that involves giving back. And then on the weekends, we would plan some excursions, go to the Sahara, camp overnight under the stars, or go to Casablanca for a day. So those kind of activities just came about because we had this pool of knowledge and people who wanted to do things together. So my first travel tip is don't feel that you're alone when you're traveling. And solo travel doesn't really have to mean that you're by yourself all the time. Because that is one thing that really is a scary thought. Am I going to be going out to dinner by myself? There's a fancy restaurant I want to try, but would it look strange if I just should make a reservation for one and come dine there? I always try to find friends wherever I go. I put it on social media. I look on Couchsurfing. You don't necessarily have to stay with people. On Couchsurfing, you can also meet them for coffee. If you find someone who has a common interest, maybe they work in your field, maybe they live in a region that you want to explore more. And I would meet up with people for a lunch or a coffee, and they will show me around their own backyard. I also use some other websites like Servas and Airbnb, where I'm staying with people and they become my local guardians. So of course this is all no money is exchanged for these services, but you become friends and they feel like they're responsible for you if you are visiting their city. And they'll tell you, like I was in Naples and I heard Naples is not a safe place for women to be walking by themselves, but my host said, well, if you avoid these streets at these times of the day, then you should be fine. Or go to this restaurant and I can call ahead because I know the owner and they'll have your meal ready and they'll give you a table that you would like. So having those insider contacts, even though you didn't know these people, but they really feel that they want to help you, they want to make sure that you have a great time when you're there. That brings me to my second travel tip is how important is how you dress and look when you're traveling to some of these countries. And something that I actually am able to observe because I lived in India half my life and then I've been in the United States for the other half. And when I take people with me to go on a trip to India or somewhere in the Middle East or one of these countries where there's a little conservative way of dressing, it is very apparent in my face because I didn't even think about those things before. Till I had one lady on my trip in India, in northern India, which is a little more conservative than Mumbai in southern India. And she put on her running shorts and went for a jog outside. And before she came back, returned from her 45-minute jog, there were people gathered around me to tell me that, who is that lady who's running in her bikini outside on the streets? And I'm like, first of all, it's not bikini, it's running shorts. But, you know, that's just the mentality of people that a single woman cannot be seen in inappropriate clothing, which for us here is appropriate, but not culturally there. So when I travel by myself, I do a lot of research on what is the local attire, what are the acceptable ways of dressing, and I go very conservative. So I would not dress the same way I do in Italy versus in, say, Dubai or in Oman, in Jordan. So I always have a different set of clothing for different places. And if the locals are covering their head, then don't feel like that's offensive to you in any way because that's not your religion or your culture. But blending in means you're going to be safe and you're going to attract less attention to yourself. And actually you will probably earn more respect from the locals too, especially the men. You know, if they see that you are blending in with the women that they have in the community, then you will actually end up feeling more respectful too. So dress appropriately. My third suggestion is find some opportunities to get involved locally. So volunteer work is something I do, and even countries that I would not think about going to on my own, such as Russia, I did. And I volunteered in an orphanage, elderly daycare facility over there. But that means that it becomes accessible for you to go to those countries that you wouldn't otherwise feel are safe for women to travel on, or friendly because of language barriers or the infrastructure. But when you're doing volunteer work, you are becoming friends with other staff members. The teachers at the school are going to come and tell you, here are the places we go hang out in the evening. Here's a good place to go shop at where you're not going to get ripped off. And come join us for a lunch with the other staff members. So you automatically get your local tour guides, and they also act as your translators. When I was staying in Russia, in a city called Yaroslav, which was 4 hours away from Moscow, there was not a single person I know who spoke English. So imagine how helpless you would be if you were just traveling through that city by yourself. But having that staff with me meant that I could go order food at a restaurant, I could go shopping, I could take the bus, because these people are always there to help me and guide me. Well, other than that, I also have been to Cuba a few times, so I know you mentioned Cuba, and I wanted to comment on that. when last year I actually took a group of 10 women. One of them wanted to celebrate their 50th birthday. So she said, wow, Cuba would be a great opportunity to do that. And it is an amazing destination for both men and women. If you like music, if you like food, local experiences, it's not so much for the beaches, but it's mostly for culture. And my comment on that is go now than later, because I've been going to Cuba for 4 or 5 years, and every year things change very rapidly. And what it used to look like 4 or 5 years ago, it doesn't anymore already. So if you have a chance to go, definitely think about it now. The other destination that I really like to go is Bali, Indonesia. Everybody's seen April Merenda, so that's the #1 destination for women. But I do get a lot of mixed reactions. Some people come back from Bali and say, well, I didn't really care for it. And others say, well, that was the most magical trip I ever had. So again, where you go on the island is important. You can go for yoga retreats there. You can stay in all-inclusive resorts on the beaches. You can be in the mountains. You can do a meditative trip. You can go to all the temples. What I suggest is stay away from the resorts. There are lots of 5-star Bulgarian resorts and things like that. But go more in the community. And you will find in the hills, people are genuinely very nice. And there are so many places you can practice yoga. You can take a bike and just go biking around the mountains, go hiking. And you will find other women like you who are there, who are just come to spend time with themselves or explore nature or just spiritual path, and it's a wonderful destination I see for women as well. So similar to Cheryl, I had a different career path before. I was in investment banking, and whatever money I did earn, I spent it all on travel. But now I don't have a job, but I do travel a lot. So in 2016, I went to 14 countries and 3 states, and my organization is all about travel. I also work as a food and travel writer, so whenever I am traveling, I am kind of working. So it's all tied into my passion, and there's never a moment where I feel like this is for work and this is for pleasure. It's all melded in together. So that's why there is never a dull moment, and it never feels like you have to do a balance. It's always fun.
Where do you find places that you can volunteer, and are they short-term type things, so that you can do it for like a month?
There are all kinds of volunteer opportunities. So the trips that I conduct are generally 1 to 2 weeks long, but there are organizations in practically everywhere in the world, including the first world countries. I've done volunteer programs in Spain and Germany and Italy, where you can stay for a month and you can take care of, say, a hotel or a B&B, and in exchange they will give you free boarding and food and things like that. Or you can go to Africa and take care of animals, be a mommy to an orphaned elephant and stay with him for 3 months till he's released back into the wild. So all of those exist. You just need to go online. There are lots of websites that do that. They have a listing of all the different countries. You can select by how many weeks you want to go for, what is your price range, affordability. Now, do know that some of the shorter ones are more of cultural and tourism-oriented volunteer trips, because they want you to have more of a tourism experience. So they tend to charge a little bit more. They would put you up in a nice hotel or a guest house, and you will have to pay for those costs. But some of the longer term projects, you may be staying with a host family or maybe in a camp or something like that, so they tend to be a little cheaper. Now, it all depends on how long you want to go for and how much you want to pay.